Hello, this is MrChabry, and today we're going to talk about the water types that you can find in Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. So this is going to be based off of the Sinnoh decks from Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Starting off, we're going to talk about the final form of the water type starter, Empoleon. So this thing is an amazing water type. It has really good stats with a 101 special defense, 88 defense is okay, and 84 HP is okay. But the thing that makes this such a great Pokemon is that 111 special attack. This thing can hit really hard. It also has the Steel typing, which makes it a very unique water type. It's the only water Steel type. It has the hidden ability Defiant. So what that does is if it comes out on an Intimidate user, it'll actually get an attack boost, which is great because that actually makes it where it can conceivably be a physical attacker and a special attacker. However, this thing is an amazing Pokemon. It's one of the best water types that you can find, and there's actually a lot of water types in Sinnoh, surprisingly. So this is one of them that makes it to the top of the list. Next up is Bibral, and this thing's also a very unique Pokemon. It is a normal water type, which is a unique typing. This thing is mostly used as an HM mule because it learns so many different HMs. That's what most people use it for on their team. However, stats-wise, it's not the best. 71 speed's pretty slow. 85 attack is the only sort of decent stat on this thing. And also, this thing has really low defenses at 60. So this thing's not going to be doing very much damage if you try to use it on your team. Most people use it as an HM mule because of that. Next up is Gyarados, and this thing is an amazing Pokemon as well. This thing has a 125 attack, which is just wonderful. It also has pretty good bulk with 95 HP and a 100 special defense. Its defense stats at 79, which isn't the best, but if you bring one with the Intimidate ability, you're going to be able to lower the opponent's attack and actually take physical attacks even better. 81 speed means it's going to outspeed quite a few Pokemon. It's not the fastest, but it can actually hold its own. So Gyarados is an amazing Pokemon if you need a good water type, and also has the flying type added to it, so that gives you some, better type matchups. I do want to note that we're not going to be talking about mega forms because as of me recording this, we do not know if there's going to be megas in this new game, so we'll just talk about base forms. Next up on our list is Golduck, and this thing is a decent Pokemon. It's not the best water type. It's got a 95 special attack, which is okay. 85 speed, which is pretty good. But that's basically it. Everything else is pretty middle of the road. It's not really going to surprise you out of nowhere. The abilities, Swift Swim's probably the best because that boosts the speed, and it's already got a decent speed. Cloud 9's an interesting ability that this thing has where it ignores weather. So you could use that if your opponent is using a very weather-centric team. Golduck is a pure water type. A lot of people think it's a psychic type because of its pre-evolution's name, Psyduck, and more than likely you're going to see it in the anime using like psychic moves, but it is a pure water type. But being a water type, there's a lot of competition here in Sinnoh, and I would say use Golduck if you really want to, but there's a lot of other Pokemon that are way better. Weasel's actually a really good Pokemon in its own. It's got a 115 speed, meaning it's a very fast Pokemon. It has a 105 attack, meaning it can actually dish some damage. 85 special attack isn't the greatest, but it does give it some options if you need to use like an Ice Beam or something like that. 85 HP is pretty good, but its defenses are terrible at both 50 and 55. So you do not want to get hit with this thing. But luckily with that speed stat, you'll be outspeeding pretty much most of the game. So I would say Floatzel is a good Pokemon. Next up is Gastrodon, and this thing is a water ground type, which gives it a really nice electric immunity. This thing also can have the ability Storm Drain, which makes it immune to water as well. This thing actually has pretty decent stats. 111 HP means it's a very bulky Pokemon, especially with an 82 special defense and a 68 defense. Normally 68 defense would be terrible, but 111 HP just makes it an amazing defensive Pokemon. Special attack is 92, which is actually pretty decent, and then 83 attack, which isn't the best. But this Pokemon stats-wise, it's made to take hits, and you can actually let it learn the move Recover, so it can actually heal itself back up. So Gastrodon is an amazing Pokemon on your team. Just know that it's mainly used as a bulky Pokemon, not an offensive Pokemon. Now we're looking at Seaking, and Seaking's honestly pretty disappointing. 92 attack is its best stat, and other than that, it doesn't really have anything else. It's a slow Pokemon with 68 speed. It's not very bulky with 65 defense. 80 special defense is its best defensive stat, but 80 HP, they're not working out to make this thing very good at taking hits. So this thing is not going to be doing a lot of damage, and you're not going to be taking a lot of hits. So I would suggest you not use Seaking unless you're wanting to challenge yourself. Now we're looking at another ground water type with Whimcash. So this thing has really good HP as well as Gastrodon, 110. And it's 73 defense and 71 special defense means it can take hits pretty well. However, 76 special attack's not great, and a 78 attack is not great. 60 speed means this thing's really slow. However, it can learn Dragon Dance, which actually boosts up that attack to where it can actually do stuff, and that speed to where it could probably outspeed a few things. But other than that, this thing's not going to be doing very much damage in battle. So this thing is another Pokemon that's actually pretty challenging to use. And Sinnoh proves that it has a bunch of water ground types because it's got 3 of them here. And here is the third one, Quagsire. So this thing has a 95 HP and 85 defense, meaning it can actually take physical hits very well. And it's got an 85 attack, meaning it's not going to be doing a lot of damage, but it can actually do some stuff with that stat. This thing also learns Recover, so it can heal itself up. And that's mainly what Quagsire is going to be doing. It's going to be taking hits and trying to heal itself up. Special defense, it's pretty weak at 65, and special attack 65, so it's not doing very much on the special side. Speed is 35, making it a very slow Pokemon. So it's going to be pretty much outsped by most things that you're going to find. So this Pokemon, it can work. It is a challenge to make it work, but it can actually work. Next up is Pelipper, and this is another water flying type. It has 100 defense and 60 HP, so it's got a little bit of bulk, but not really enough to make it a bulky Pokemon. 65 speed means it's not going to be outspeeding a lot, and it does have a 95 special attack, which is actually a decent special attack stat. However, with the other stats, it's not going to be fast, and it's not taking very many hits. Its main thing that it can do is it can bring rain with drizzle, and I do believe that is a hidden ability, so you're not going to really be using that unless there's a way to gain hidden abilities within your team playthrough. But if you can, that actually will boost up those water moves, and it'll make Hurricane 100% accurate, meaning Pelipper can actually pull its weight a little bit if it was able to get the rain up. So Pelipper is another Pokemon that's actually challenging to use. And here we have Azumarill, the Water Fairy type, which is a pretty cool typing to have, especially here in a remake of a Gen 4 game. In the original Diamond and Pearl, Fairy type did not exist, so this thing was pure water. But now with the Fairy typing, it actually gives it a lot of things it can do. It can actually handle Dragon types very well. And depending on its ability, it can actually do different things. Thick Fat as its ability means it's not going to take that much from fire and ice moves, which it already resists. Sap Sipper means it's got an immunity to grass types, and it also boosts its attack. And then Huge Power means it's going to have double the attack. Looking at its stats, 100 HP is its best stat, and 80 defenses, so it can take hits decently well. However, its attack stats are really not good. 50 attack and 60 special attack. 50 speed means it's pretty slow too. Huge Power, if it doubles it, it brings the attack to 100, which is still pretty low. A lot of people in competitive, what they'll do with this is use a belly drum set to max out its attack stat. And you could do that. It would be tricky doing that on an in-game team, but it could actually work. You just have to be careful, because with a belly drum, it's going to cut its own HP down to half, and it's going to be easier to knock out. So the Pokemon Octillery is better in concept than it is in actual playthrough or competitive play. This thing's best stat is attack and special attack at 105, and that's really its only decent stats. 75 HP, defense, and special defense means this thing will not take very many hits. And with a 45 speed, you're wanting it to have to be able to live a hit. So this thing is a terrible Pokemon. It won't do very good. Its only redeeming factor is it's got a wonderful move pool. It can learn Thunderbolt, Fire Blast, Energy Ball, Ice Beam. It has a wide move pool, but with the stats not there to back it up, it's just a very terrible Pokemon to use. And on the subject of terrible water Pokemon, we have Lumineon. This thing has terrible stats all across the board, except speed. Speed is at 91, which is decent. 86 special defense is okay, but with a 69 HP, it's not really the greatest special defensive Pokemon. 69 special attack and attack means it's not going to be doing very much damage. The only cool thing about this thing is it can get the ability Storm Drain, which boosts its special attack after taking a water type move. But really, there's a lot of other better water types, and Lumineon just doesn't really stand out amongst those. So Tentacle is actually a really good water type Pokemon. This thing is a water poison type, which gives you an option against fairy types, and this thing has amazing special defense at 120. Its speed is actually really good too at 100. 80 special attack isn't the best, but it can actually do a little bit of work with that. Its defense is at 65, so you don't want to take any physical hits. But with a 120 special defense, this thing can actually take hits and actually do some work for your team. Milotic's another good, bulky water-type Pokemon. This thing has 95 HP and a 125 special defense, meaning it can take special hits all day. 100 special attack is pretty decent as well, and the 79 defense on its own doesn't look great, but with a 95 HP it can actually take physical hits as well. 81 speed means it can actually outspeed things as well, so this thing actually can do some work. And with the competitive ability, it's going to boost its special attack if it comes in on an Intimidate, so this thing can actually do a lot of work. Plus with Marvel Scale, if you take any form of status, it'll boost your defense. So it just makes this thing a little bit tougher to handle. Milotic is a really good, bulky Pokemon if you need a bulky water type. Next up is Mantine, and this thing is a very specially defensive Pokemon as well. This thing has a 140 special defense, meaning it's going to be able to take a lot of hits. 85 HP is also wonderful. That helps out with that 140 special defense. 70 defense and 70 speed's not the greatest, but this thing's meant to take special hits, mainly. 80 special attack will give you some options if you're using it as an in-game team Pokemon. And with a water flying typing, that is a really cool typing. Just watch out for electric type Pokemon. The next water type on our list is actually going to be the box legendary of Pearl and Shining Pearl, and that's going to be Palkia. So this thing has an amazing typing, Water Dragon. That means it's only weak to other dragon types and fairy types, and having only 2 weaknesses is amazing. Plus, this thing's stats are off the chart. 150 special attack, which is amazing. It's got a 100 speed, which is a really good speed stat. It also has a 120 attack, which can do a lot of damage on its own, and a 100 defense, means it can take a lot of hits on that defense side. Plus, a 120 special defense, which makes it a very bulky, decently speedy Pokemon that can hit really hard. This thing is an amazing Pokemon, and most people don't like using legendaries on their team, but if you want to use Palkia, I understand. This thing will destroy pretty much everything in the game. So now we reach the mythical Pokemon, Manafee. This thing is one of those Mew-type mythical Pokemon, meaning it's got a 100 stat across the board, which is a great stat distribution because you can basically train it any way that you want. However, Manafee is best used as a special attacker because of the move Tail Glow. What Tail Glow does is it boosts your special attack by 3 stages, which is insane. That's going to mean that this thing's going to be able to do a lot of damage to things that even resist Manafee's water type stab moves. So this thing is a great Pokemon. Of course, since it is a mythical, you want to be able to use it on your normal playthrough, but if you're using it competitively, this thing can do a lot of work. So now we reach the part where we talk about Pokemon added in the Platinum decks, and the first one being Rotom Wash. Of course, if you're playing Gen 4, this thing's going to be still Electric Ghost. However, since then, it has become an Electric Water type. And this thing's probably the best Rotom form out of all the Rotom forms. This thing has a 107 defense, 105 special attack, 107 special defense, meaning it can take hits and it can put some damage out. 86 speed is a pretty decent speed stat. It's not the best, but it is a really good speed stat. But Electric Water is a cool typing. That means you've got a lot of good options for stab moves. And this thing, like I said, is the best Rotom form. Now we're looking at Vaporeon. This is another Pokemon added to the Platinum Dex. And this thing is an amazing water type. 130 HP means this thing is very bulky. Even with the 60 defense, that 130 HP means it's going to be able to take some physical hits. However, its best stat, other than the 130 HP, is going to be its 110 special attack. That can hit pretty decently hard. It's got a 95 special defense, which just makes this a very bulky Pokemon. 65 speed is on the slower side. However, it's got enough bulk that it can take hits, and it's got enough attack potential that it can actually put out a lot of damage. Now we come to a Pokemon that wasn't in the Sinnoh Dex, but is a Gen 4 Pokemon, so I feel like I need to mention it here. And that's going to be Fion. So Fion is basically the horrible version of Manafee. This thing has 80 stats across the board, which is terrible. It doesn't really do hardly anything on its own. It doesn't even get Tail Glow, which is the thing that makes Manafee such a good Pokemon. Fion is basically a terrible version of Manafee, and that's all you really need to know about this thing. It really can't hold its own, even in competitive play. So that's all the water types in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. The water type actually has the most representation within these games, which is actually pretty surprising. But if you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I will see you in the next Pokemon video.